I'm gonna love you.
Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee with Brian, episode 5. Today, we're going to talk about the tools I use when I do abstract, when I do acrylic portraits, when I do acrylic landscapes, or oil. Yeah, I don't really do oils, but if I did do oils. Yeah, let's get started. All right. Now, with whether you're doing oils, watercolors, acrylics, there's one major thing you're going to need, and that's brushes. Brushes, palette knives, implements to create texture, to create design, especially in abstract work. Now, needless to say, I got a lot of brushes. Alright, so I'm just going to start showing them to you here. In this little container here, I don't know if you can see or not. Well, it's not going to. Let me try it this way. These are more of the little liner brushes. You can see fine tips, and there's some different ones in here. Some of these are my wife's, but different brushes we have. A lot of the smaller ones are in here. And then some more here, just different assorted ones. Again, that don't even have a thing on it, but you could use it for texture. And some of my longer handle ones. As you can tell, if you're getting way away from the painting, got a bunch of these. And then, of course, I got this one. These are actually my main ones. As you can tell, that's where most of my fan brushes are. I've got them all over the place in here. Another one there. Smaller one, stiffer one here. A little bit softer bristle one here. Yeah, I do a lot with fan brushes. I also use fan brush for most of my spray paint art. When I do the trees or I do little bushes, grass, I use fan brush. Not these, because with spray paint, once you use it, you pretty much ruin that brush. Not a good idea to come back and use it for acrylic or oil or watercolor. So I have one specific one out there, longer handle, that I use. I have a couple out there. I have a 1/4 inch, maybe number 4, I don't remember. A fan brush, a couple liner brushes. After I use them, I put them in turpentine. That keeps the bristles soft so I can use them again. But needless to say, none of these are going out there. But you will, if you're doing any kind of acrylic abstract, oils, portraits, landscapes, you name it, you're going to accumulate a lot of these. A lot. You're going to be picking them up about every time you go to the art store. People are going to be getting them for you for your birthday, for Christmases. You're going to be, you're going to get a lot of these. And then, of course, like I said in one of my videos, this is actually my favorite brush right here. With abstract. Well, actually, with landscaping, I'll use this for the sky. This old generic brush, paintbrush, like you'd use on your house. It's a 2-inch brush, and I've had this thing for, oh Lord, a lot of years. it's getting all wore down and stuff, but it's my favorite one with abstract. I'll use it for the backgrounds. I'll use it to blend colors. I'll use it to, if I want to apply a lot of color to an area. Love this brush. I also have tools like these. As you can tell, you've got different points up here that you can drag through your paint, swirl, whatever you want to do. You can create different effects with these. I also use implements like it. This old hair pick. Then I've got this that has different points on it depending on what you want to use. And I'll drag that through the paint, manipulate the paint, manipulate this through, just to create texture, create depth. And then of course, I don't have them all out here, but palette knives. You know, I've got let me get them here. I've got the cheaper plastic ones that I use with a lot of abstract work. And then I've got the some of the more, you know, the metal ones. If I'm doing some serious work, I'll typically use the metal because they've got a thinner edge, and it's, I don't know, it's a little bit easier to manipulate the paint, I think, with these. But for abstract, most time I'll use these. With my spray paint, I have both out there. I have one metal and I have one plastic, cheap plastic one out there. So just depends on what I'm doing. But typically, I would use a palette knife if I'm doing mountains. If you remember from Bob Ross back in the day, you would get a thin bead of paint here on this edge here, and then you just lightly drag, like where your peak of your mountain is. One side you're going to have a light source, the other side you're going to have shadow. So say your light source, you would pick up some white, maybe some very light blue, and you get a little bead there, and then you just lightly drag that down in different areas. Give the look of a light source. And then for your shadow source, of course, you would use a black, a dark gray, a dark purple, a dark blue. And again, you get the bead. You follow your peak down on the opposite side to create, you're going to have a light source, and then the opposite side is going to be a shadow side. But that's what you'd use this for. You can also, if you're doing on landscape, where your bank is, where your water in your bank is, again, if you want to do like breaking water up on the bank, or even then if you're doing an ocean scene, you want to create waves, you could, again, get the bead on there and just drag it, cut it into your painting, and it'll leave a little bit of that white, and it'll give, you know, the look of breaking water. And then, you know, or you can manipulate it and create waves in the ocean. Now, most of the time, I love fan brushes. This is one of my favorite brushes to use. I've got them stiff bristle. I've got them soft bristle. I've got long, short. This one here is actually a Grumbacher. I love Grumbacher. They're one of my favorite brushes. A long time ago, I used to have a lot of Grumbacher red sables. They were actually my favorite. I don't have too many of them anymore. They're expensive. They're not cheap. This is the Grumbacher Black Diamond. And I don't remember where I got it. Probably Hobby Lobby, Michael's. I don't know. But I use this if I'm doing evergreen trees. This is what I would use. I would use just this one edge, and I would go back and forth to put the branches and the leaves of the evergreen in. Pine trees, you know. I would also use this sometimes for shrubbery. If if I want to add in shrubbery, push down. And sometimes with clouds, you know, you can use something like this, dab it in, and drag a little bit. You can create your clouds with something like this. I've also used these for the clouds, you know, depending on what type of cloud I'm putting in. I could drag. If it's a more stiffer bristle, you know, I can kind of push and get it to spread the paint a little bit, and then I can drag, you know, depending on whether they got stratus clouds, cumulus, you know, there's all kind of clouds. But anyway, I use this one a lot. And then, of course, like liner brushes and stuff, you know, for branches on trees. Bigger ones, you know, like for, say I want a big trunk on a tree, coming up a big old majestic tree, you know, I'll use one of these. You know, I may use this one, or I'll use this one. You know, it just depends on what mood I'm in and what I pick up. And then as I work the branches out, I'll switch to, you know, more of a little thinner one here, and, you know, something like this. Actually, this one here is very good for blending, smudging, because it's got the rounded tip here. And then as I get even further with the branches, I'll go to an even smaller liner brush. And then once I'm done, you know, like I said, I'll use a fan brush, or sometimes I'll use a sponge. I'll tear a piece of a sponge off, I'll dip it in the paint, and then dab it on for my leaves or my bushes, or, you know, to give depth and texture to my landscape. And actually in my spray paint art, that's one of my biggest tools is a sponge. The leaves on trees, sponge. Bushes, landscape, sponge. You know, you'll see me use it a lot. Now, unfortunately, with spray paint, you know, after you use it in a color, it's pretty much done, because you can't put it into the turpentine, because then it just dissolves away. The sponge is gone. It's done. However, for acrylic, you know, you can keep reusing it over and over and over. Just, you know, when you're done, go wash it out. Acrylic is water soluble. Just go wash that stuff out, get it all out, squeeze it out, let it dry. Good to go next time. Spray paint, no. Spray paint is an enamel paint, and it there are some spray acrylics. I believe Liquitex makes one. There's a couple other brands out there. I can't remember off the top of my head. But like the Rust-Oleum I use is enamel. So once you use it on sponge, it's done. You know, you can use it that day, but once it dries, you know, you can try to peel it off, and you might be able to use the underneath layer of the sponge, depending on how big it is. But once you use it, yeah, it's pretty much done. Throw it away. Thankfully today, you know, in today's society, we have multiple options available to us as an artist, you know. We have multiple sources to get said implements that we use. You know, you've got Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Jerry's Artorama, Amazon, eBay, Dick Blick. You can go to Walmart, pick up art supplies. You just get them anywhere. Order them offline. Go pick them up physically. You know, there's just so many companies that make brushes. So many companies make paint. You know, way back in the day, they used to make their own pigments, and, you know, from flowers and from different objects. And they got the pigment, and they would make their own paint. That's how they did it. Way back in the day of Van Gogh and Picasso and all of them, you know. You know, we don't have to do that today. Some of us do. You know, you can still buy the pigments and make your own paint. I don't have the patience for all that crap. But, anyway, that's tools I use. If you have any, as always, if you have any questions, any comments, leave them down below. Contact me on here. on Facebook, on my website, on Twitter, wherever you want. I'll try to answer your questions. And I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you learned something. I hope I helped inspired you to go out and make some art. And as always, remember, when it comes to art, your only limitation is your own imagination. I love y'all, and I'll catch you again real soon. Remember, if you like what you see, click on my goofy little mug down there to subscribe. When you subscribe, that keeps you updated when I add new content. Remember, smash that like button. Let us know that you like what you see, and leave us a comment down below. Let us know what you want to see next. Leave us comments about the artwork. Just let us know how your day's been. Whatever you want, doesn't matter. Just leave us a comment. Let us know you're out there watching. And as always, your only limitation is your own imagination. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all again real soon.